Have you ever seen a player attack someone because of what his teammate said?
Boy, now we've got Nurkic and Naji Marshall as Marshall leaned back and threw a punch at Nurkic.
Ridiculous? Yes, but this is what happens when you play for a team whose frustration levels are at an all-time high. As of right now, the Phoenix Suns are paying over $400 million when we account for luxury tax for a roster that is currently not in the play-in game. The Suns also do not own their own first-round pick outright until 2031, so to call the Bradley Beal trade a disaster would be an understatement. In this video, we are also going to look at 3 other major recent trades and signings. Paul George to Philly, DeJounte Murray to the Pelicans, and of course, Julius Randle to the Timberwolves. But staying in Phoenix, what's up, Mike here, and in trading for Bradley Beal, the Suns made a desperation move when a desperation move did not have to happen. This move also made absolutely no sense at the time. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant are both score-first players, simple as that. Bradley Beal is a score-first guard, simple as that. Book is doing his best, averaging a team-high 6.5 assists per game, but just as recently as 2022, the Suns had a winning formula down. Devin Booker finished 4th in the MVP voting, and the Suns won 64 games before Luka Doncic and the Mavs took them out of the playoffs. This led to an overreaction, and when we come to the root of the Suns' problems, it comes down to simple roster construction. In the Durant trade, the Suns lost Mikal Bridges, who was a star defensive wing for them, who played his role well. The Suns didn't want to pay DeAndre Ayton, okay, but their replacement for him, Jusuf Nurkic, currently has both a negative box score plus minus and a negative value over replacement player. KD has shown clear frustrations with Nurkic specifically. But wrapping back to the Bradley Beal trade, Beal was on the decline heading to Phoenix. In 2022 and 2023, Beal averaged around 23 points a game, and now at the age of 31 for the Suns, he is scoring just 18.2 points per game with 3.1 assists and 3.7 rebounds with a negative box score plus minus, a PER under 15, and a VORP of 0.1. The worst part is the Suns gave away a lot of their future in this trade. So yes, while they do technically still have first round picks, they do not outright own their own pick until 2031, which means if things get awful, they are not going to be able to rebuild with their own players. Have I mentioned Bradley Beal has a player option for $57 million in 2027? We saw what happened when the Brooklyn Nets went all in on an older Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and traded away their entire future in the process. They watched as Boston took Jaylen Brown, who was last year's NBA Finals MVP. It's very possible Phoenix is on that same path. As for Paul George to the 76ers, this could be just as awful long-term for Philadelphia. Now, at least Philly does own all of their picks outright starting in 2028. That is the good news. The bad news is Paul George is 34 years old and has a player option for over $56.5 million in 2028. Philly started the season 3-14. Things were so bad that they had a players-only meeting, and in this meeting,
Tyrese Maxey challenged Joel Embiid, the face of that franchise, the former league MVP, about his tardiness and about being on time.
Many fans blame Tobias Harris as the reason for Philly's failures. Paul George was supposed to level them up on the wing and take this team to new heights. That has not come close to happening so far.
How you got more podcast episodes than games played? Your podcast, P. You're not playoff P. You're not the GOAT.
Yes, Philly has suffered through injury problems, but they are now in very dangerous territory. They are 13-19 in the Eastern Conference, and Paul George's production has fallen off of a cliff. Just last season with the Clippers, PG was an all-star and averaged 22.6 points per game on 47.1% shooting. This season, he's averaging 16.3 points per game with similar minutes played on 42.2% shooting. Now, to be fair, things have been getting better. Philly again started the year at 3-14, but have been 10-5 through their last 15 games. They still have plenty of time to make up ground and make the playoffs, but we have to be honest here. Making the playoffs is not the goal. The goal is to win a championship with this core, and we have watched the Cavaliers absolutely dominate to begin the year, and the Boston Celtics are still sitting there as defending reigning NBA champion. With Paul George's current production and the fact that he's making over $50 million a year, he is an untradeable asset at this point, and injuries are only adding adding up for Joel Embiid. When Embiid is on the court, he does have the talent of an MVP. But just last season, he only played in 39 games, and this season, he's only played in 12. The two bright spots for Philly have been Tyrese Maxey, who just turned 24, and Jared McCain, who went from TikTok dancing sensation to Rookie of the Year favorite, but then, unfortunately, suffered a torn meniscus. So really, Philly is completely relying on their big three here to win them a championship in the near future, as Embiid still has a player option for $67 million in 2029. Their salary cap allows for basically no flexibility, and right now, their current team does not look like it's going to be enough, and that a new process might be starting soon. DeJounte Murray to the Pelicans is the most complicated trade on this list. At his best, DeJounte has all-star potential, as in 2022, he was a literal all-star for the Spurs, averaging 21.1 points, 9.2 assists, 8.3 rebounds, and 2 steals per game. Stuff in the stat sheet. Then DeJounte went to the Hawks, where he was not a fit at all with Trae Young, and after that did not work out, he is now on the Pelicans, where again, we have a very imperfect fit, as DeJounte is often the only true playmaker on the court. And while he is a great player, I would not say he is an elite playmaker. The true superstars in the NBA can fit anywhere. DeJounte, though, seems to be more of a possibly great third option on the right team with the right roster around him. The problem is, he has not gotten that chance recently at all. When we look at him fairly here, a huge thing that stands out is that last season, DeJounte averaged 22.5 points per game, and now he is averaging 15.8 points per game on 36.6% shooting with similar minutes played. There is a lot to still like about his game, though, as at the point guard spot, he's also averaging 7.5 assists and 6.5 rebounds per game to go along with 2.4 steals. However, the Pelicans are about as awful as you could possibly be, sitting at 5-29, and in order to get DeJounte, they had to give up Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels on the Hawks has quickly become one of the NBA's most underrated young players. In the 2025 season so far, Dyson is averaging 12.9 points, 5.1 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and wait for it, 3.1 steals per game. The last player to average over 3 steals per game for an entire season was Alvin Robertson in 1991. And the Atlanta Hawks as a whole have easily been one of the biggest surprise teams in the NBA this season. They are sitting at 18-16 with a starting lineup of 30-year-old Clint Capella, 26-year-old Trae Young, then 23-year-old Jalen Johnson, 21-year-old Dyson, and 19-year-old Zachary Rizache. So while DeJounte Murray is a solid player and is on a great contract, making a little over $30 million a year until 2028, the Hawks got younger here and are better, while the Pelicans are older, worse, and completely missing an identity. Finishing off, the Minnesota Timberwolves took a massive gamble when they traded away Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, along with a first-round pick. Normally, when a team makes the Western Conference with a roster that is still in contention and a superstar in Anthony Edwards who is only getting closer to his prime, they do not make drastic moves such as this. Last year, Cat was an all-star for Minnesota. He has been their franchise cornerstone for years. This season, he may be an all-star starter for the Knicks in the Eastern Conference, as he's averaging 24.9 points, 13.7 rebounds, and 3.3 assists per game. Cat is having perhaps the best season of his life in New York, and the Knicks are 24-10 and third in the East. Meanwhile, Timberwolves fans have been introduced to what can only be called the Julius Randle experience.
Schroeder didn't want that three. Give it to the hottest Warrior. Curry's got another one.
With their offense stand, can they get Randle going as Bridges inside?
3 buckets so far. Vucevic, trailer 3.
For the year, Randle is averaging 20.2 points, 7 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game, but he is 30 years old and his numbers across the board have dropped from last season. If you ask a Knicks fan about this, they would laugh and say, "What did you expect?"
Now Randle driving by Alvarado, and then he throws it away.
And he hears it from the crowd.
Now, during a 4-game win streak this season, Anthony Edwards did hype up Randle by saying,
Niles and Julius is playing defense. You know, I've never seen him play defense before. So that's incredible. And he's right here. Put the camera on him. He's just guarding his ass off.
And almost immediately after this, the Wolves would drop 3 straight games in Julius Randle's only 2 playoff runs. In 2021, he averaged 18 points per game on 29.8% shooting. In 2023, 16.6 points a game on 37.4% shooting. You will hear that the Timberwolves had to give up Karl Anthony Towns for salary reasons. In reality, they were avoiding the second apron. They could have kept him, or they could have traded away other salaries to avoid that apron. Now, injuries did play a part in some of Julius Randle's playoff struggles. On top of this, Dante DiVincenzo has also not been the player Wolves fans expected. Dante is averaging just 10 points per game and is shooting 38.9% from the field, as his PER, true shooting percentage, win shares per 48 minutes, and box score plus minus are all noticeably down from last season. The instant reaction here is huge win for the Knicks, not great for the Wolves, but in the NBA this early, we know things can change. There's always time for redemption. So comment down below what you think about this trade and about every single deal that was mentioned in this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and turn on post notifications if you're new. Thank you for watching. You're awesome. We all know it. And peace.